We've got a great guest on today's show. It's all about the Titans from the inside. Nate Bain, the director of influencer marketing for the Tennessee Titans, and a legendary figure, I must say, in my opinion, on Titans Twitter. On the show today, we're going to talk through what he does, how he's influenced us and our careers, and a lot more. So stick around. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it. Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Broadway Sports Media in partnership with 440 Sports. I'm Justin Graver. With me, as always, Justin Melo and Justin. Today, we're taking a step back from all the draft talk and the GM talk and all the dysfunction that's surrounding the Titans right now to just have some fun with a guy that we love, that we've gotten to know a bit over the last few years, who has had a major impact on the Titans and the way that they are perceived as a social media organization, done great work with them, has now been promoted to director of influencer marketing. It's Nate Bain. He's coming on soon. Justin, how's it going? Are you excited?
I'm doing well, man. I'm really excited. As you know, you and I have been working on this for a couple weeks, getting our guy Nate Bain on here. You know who he is. He's a legend on Titans Twitter. Was running literally Titans Twitter for a long time before he was too good to do that. And now he's in director of influence marketing. He is a legend that's kind of, rising up the ranks. Maybe he'll be the next general manager. We're going to ask him that. Who knows? But all kidding aside, super stoked to have Nate Bain on here. He's been a friend of you and I for a while. Again, he's a legend on Titans Twitter. Everyone knows him. Really one of the first guys to come in and run that social media, and by ensuring that he was connecting with the people, connecting with the fans, connecting with the fan base. We had a phenomenal conversation with him.
Absolutely. So before we get to Nate, we have to hit I'll Drink to That, presented by Sinkers Beverages. And what I'm drinking to today is the fact that we have this chance to talk to Nate, to take a step back, like I said, because all this talk about the number one pick, we're going to have months to discuss that. To talk about the GM search, we're going to have weeks to discuss that and what the new direction of the franchise is. It gets a little exhausting. Sometimes it's nice to just take a step back, have some fun with a person that we like, talking about the team that we love. And so I'm drinking to the opportunity for you and I to do that today, Justin.
Yeah, again, like you, me, and Nate, three of us go way back. First time he's ever been on here, making his MCA debut. Of course, we went through all the proper channels to get the approval of this. That's big for us, that Nate Bain is even, allowed to come on this podcast. And the fact that it's recognized as something that's okay means that this podcast has made some gains for sure. So
right.
Really excited. And we had a lot of fun. We told stories about Brett Kern, Taylor Lewan, Will Compton, whole lot of craziness, and really what it's like to be inside the organization. We had a friggin' blast, man.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to this conversation. So that'll do it for I'll Drink to That, presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville, serving the community since 1985. Their knowledgeable staff is proud to help you with large parties, themed events, or finding something unique for a special occasion. From birthday parties to milestone celebrations to everyday moments, Sinkers can help with the right drink for every occasion. And if you head to the sinkersbeverages.com website or check the link in this podcast description, you can join the In Crowd. In-crowd members get access to allocated wines and spirits, exclusive events, early access to barrel releases, and more. I think without further ado, we are now very pleased to bring on the legendary Nate Bain, the director of influencer marketing for the Tennessee Titans. Nate, thanks for joining us today. Can you tell us what director of influencer marketing means?
Great question and great intro. I want to hang out with you guys more often. Yeah, it's kind of a new buzz term, but essentially I've kind of positioned it as just like relationship building. For a little over 10 years, I did social media and content in the NFL, and particularly when I got to Nashville, I just found myself corresponding not only with fans and media folks, et cetera. There was musicians and actors, et cetera, that were all across the board that were Titan fans, and whether they were posting on Instagram or sliding in the DMs on Twitter, I started to keep a list of all those. And then as I was building up this social content world inside the company, was doing now what is my job as influencer marketing. And so over the course of, I guess, 8 years, I've built out a budget for gifting and a suite to host folks in. And essentially that whole idea for influencer marketing is develop relationships with people of influence. That's content creators, that's actors, musicians, et cetera. And then essentially, we want to make sure they have a good time and support the brand, but integrate back into the business somehow. Bud Light may come to us and say, I think there was 3 different teams that did sailgating. I think it was us, the Jaguars, and the Seahawks were teams you could get to the stadium by water. And they
Hmm.
wanted to basically, we did pontoon boats for the South, and they wanted to have some type of celebrity influence. We got our alumni involved as well. And that kind of just helped elevate the experience for our season ticket members. So that's just like a small example of how we're taking our relationships that I've built out over the last 8 years and then applying them to the business. And you're
Hmm.
seeing that across the board. The NFL as a whole is doing it, whether it's connections with, was it Rock Nation for all of their halftime acts. I think they've done stuff with TikTok, but it's becoming more and more as these social media platforms change. It's sometimes easier to get your message out through individuals that have different audiences, and so that's kind of what my job is focused on. So there's a word salad there, but that's basically what my influencer marketing is.
Sounds cool.
No, I think that's dope, especially the way the city has changed over the years, right? Like there are so many important people, influencers, celebrities, you name it, that support this franchise. Just a great way to make sure you guys are capitalizing on all
Yeah,
that.
we've been. Look, it's fully transparency that like I was in LA. I think LA's there. New York's got a great spot. Miami too, but Nashville, even though sometimes we're considered a small market and the team's only been here for 25 years, yeah, the elevation of Nashville as a whole has been really cool to help with my job versus, there's some other markets and some other peers that I have that have to probably work a little bit harder and have to get a little more creative with what they do. It's not always a big challenge to get folks to come visit Nashville. It's usually an easy sell if they don't live here already. CAA, WME, a lot of these agencies that do sports and entertainment, they're opening up offices in Nashville as well. So
Yeah.
just the whole growth of the city has really made my job a lot easier.
And Nate, we're gonna get right into the hard
Let's
hitting
do it,
stuff.
man.
We would be remiss if we didn't really start with the biggest news coming out of Tennessee, and that is that the University of Tennessee named you to the 40-40 list, man. That like talk a little about that. Congratulations!
Appreciate
What
it.
an awesome
Yeah,
honor, man.
great timing on that. But yeah, it's been I don't know if it was a mistake on their list, but yeah, they haven't announced it
Come
all.
on.
They sent it to us. We were able to put it out there before they announced the list. But there's Olympians on there. There's people
Wow.
doing great civic work and head coaches of professional sports teams, and then there's me. But yeah, it's cool to. I mean, it stems from what this job is morphed into. But the relationships, the connections. I mean, I've known you guys for a long time, just via social, and then popping up in different places. And I hope that that award kind of was a collection of all these different relationships we built and ways to help different folks. Uh, you know, Prior to hopping on here too. I mean, it's all Graver did all the work, but I just remember when he was looking for an opportunity, the NFL Network popped up. I slid his resume over to a couple people, and then suddenly he's in a different place and doing great things, and that's led to his job now. But for me, it's trying to do that and extrapolating that to all the different relationships that we have, whether it's helping players elevate what they're doing, our fan base do what they do. That stuff is important to me, and I don't know. That's why I wake up. So it's been fun to see that being recognized at my old school, and then I'm in the state now too. So that's all helpful and fun to do. So I can't wait to get back to campus and have some fun. And I think the ceremony's at the end of February, and then it culminates with the Tennessee Alabama basketball game. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, congrats, Nate. I mean, that is an awesome honor, and we will stick a pin in what you mentioned there about my career. We're going to come back to that for sure
Yeah.
because I owe you a huge thank you. But I want to talk more about your job and what you do, especially in light of recent actual news around the Titans, as Justin made a little joke there. Obviously, Titans shaking things up with general manager, and we've seen, each almost, it feels like every year they're swapping out head coach or GM or somebody at the top who has a large say in how the entire organization functions and puts itself out there in the media. How do these staff changes affect what you do, especially when you were more directly involved in the social media day to day and interacting with fans on that front? Like, is there different messaging from the top about what the outward facing approach should look like? Is that more on you to determine? Like, how much directive from above do these new hires have an influence on what the social media team and in your new position, like what you do on a day-to-day basis?
That's a good question. Yeah, I was joking with you guys and some other people. I dropped my 40 under 40 news, and then like 15 minutes later, we announced our change, and I was like, oh, it's buried my news. But yeah, no, I think it's a song and dance. It's an example that I can give. I'm always trying to look to add, like it's all about it's with that news, with any other news, we're a football team. It's about winning games. That's eventually what, if we win games, it's going to help my job. And my job is to hopefully find some unique way, at least some creative way to spin it that I'm helping the team win games. Jelly Roll is a musician. And hopefully most people know by now. He's had an incredible rise to fame. Still a Tennessee guy. Still loves the Titans. Things worked out where I was able to bring him to practice and surprise the team for a team speech. And hopefully we have so many new players, so many new coaches that it just feels like, oh man, this big time guy is coming to talk to us, and we're an NFL team. We're a big deal too. But that hopefully helps that camaraderie, helps that team chemistry. Jelly talked about what the team means to him and why it's important to the city, and I think that gives the guys even a little bit of extra purpose. So anything I can do to help elevate that, and that may change different regimes. I do think there's a little bit because this space is so new. It's on me to pitch to leadership, kind of what it looks like and where we need to go, and then we have a back and forth. And so, yeah, I think it definitely. I mean, any change that happens, it's tough. I've been in this industry for a very long time, two major colleges and two NFL teams, and you just have to it's almost you just start over again. You build new relationships. You see what they want, what they would like to go to, whether that be celebrities involvement with them. If not, how we can integrate and help, or maybe not. And so working with them is just you restart and try to find some ways to help out. But I mean, yeah, I think it's always exciting too once you reset and get in the mode. And again, with Nashville being the city that it is, we have a lot of new guys coming in. And I had a good run, like 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. The fan base had a fun too with some wins, and all those players kind of stayed together. And so it was easy to start knowing, I know what Taylor Lewan likes. I know what Derrick Henry likes, and I can go out and try to make those relationships happen, make sure that their partnerships are elevated. And now we've got a new batch of players, a new batch of coaching staff. So it's just restarting that whole machine. But that's what makes it fun. And you find some niches, you find some paths that work. And like I said, that Jelly Roll thing was an example. It took a little bit more convincing, but not as much. Nate Bargatze did a Christmas special. He's a comedian, and that got on CBS and got, I think, earned. They have these formulas that are like $60 million of media earned, but basically we got on primetime TV on CBS, and we got to do a skit with Nate Bargatze, a little comedy. We got to work with the writers at SNL. It was Lauren Michaels' production company, and that's something we never had in Nashville. So just finding ways to elevate the brand, win or lose, but hopefully mainly wins. But that's kind of some of the ways that these changes affect me, but also how I'm trying to help the team in some of these nuanced ways to make them feel good. I mean, it's been really fun to help build these relationships. It's cool to watch Jelly Roll's eyes light up when he gets to hang out with the team, which is something that he usually can't do, and vice versa when Jeffrey Simmons gets to meet him. And that kind of manifested itself when Jelly Roll went through the Juvenile Justice Center, which is literally right beside the stadium. It's kind of an odd geographic setup, but being neighbors at the stadium, the Titans had never been to that before, and he was like, we got to change that. They've been here for 25 years. Before this stadium gets torn down, I want to connect the brands, essentially, I guess. And so we brought all those players, all our superstar names, to go do Thanksgiving dinner with the Juvenile Detention Center kids. So just finding those ways to connect has been fun for me, and hopefully yields itself to some positive results. Again, another long-winded answer. You guys can have me, what's the Oscar music? Play that when it gets too long.
Play him out.
No, not at all. And it's funny, though, because I always feel like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but different regimes, you have different leeway to do some of those things. Like from the outside looking in for us, or I had a little experience with it, but it certainly felt like the Mike Vrabel, John Robinson regime like to play things close to the vest a little bit, right? Maybe not, from my opinion, or from what I've experienced, maybe not quite as open-minded to some of the things, especially on social and things of that nature. Then you get someone like a Brian Callahan coming in, who's told is a straight shooter by comparison, in terms of he'll tell you what play he's going to run, for example, right? Whereas, Vrabel, there was always like a competitive advantage aspect to it. So I'm sure you saw differences in what maybe ideas they were open to.
Yeah, I think, what is it? What's the things that it's now that I've shifted out of social, I've been almost more like the fans and the media. Was it the injuries that were when they were discussed and when they weren't? But no, man, I think there's just differences in those relationships. I get where some of those come from, but actually, I don't know. I think J. Rob and Vrabel didn't really like my job, but I think they hopefully at least respected me, so I get that. But like different things resonated with Vrabel's, Super Bowl winning player that then became a coach, and he had his preference of who he liked and who he didn't like, and when was a distraction, when wasn't. Same kind of thing for John, but John actually was pretty involved in the music scene here, and had this job been a thing, might have been a little bit more receptive to some of those things. But yeah, new coaching staff, new thing. They're getting mixed into the city. They want to be involved in some of this, and Callahan's trying to build his own culture, and I think bringing in something like Jelly Roll can help. Maybe rally the guys a little faster. But yeah, every coach has his different nuances. Every GM has their different things that they care about. But I mean, yeah, those relationship things are important, and it just sucks how sometimes those things don't work out. But I'm still friends with Vrabel's kid. I bumped into him at the Ohio State Tennessee game, and we had some fun banter. And I was actually worked with Rand at the Rams, and was the first guy. The cool organization was cool enough to have me go get him off the plane when he arrived because there's a familiar face. And so, yeah, I think there is that misnomer out there. I don't know if it's a misnomer, but a point of view that they were a little bit difficult to deal with. But yeah, they just had different priorities. And so, yeah, I think the new staff now might be a little bit more open to that. But again, it could change. Again, it's all about winning games. So.
For sure. I'll tell you a funny story that Graver and I, you might be familiar. We did a series a couple of years ago called Tape with a Titan, where we had a couple guys on here breaking down film and stuff. And one morning, before I'm an early riser now. I wake up, I hear my phone ringing, I got my ringer on, and Brett Kern is calling me. And I'm like, and that's going to sound like a humble brag. Like, Brett Kern doesn't call me. That doesn't happen, right? Like, I had his number in my phone because I interviewed him a couple times, whatever. I'm like, Brett Kern, like, he's butt dialing me. Like, Brett Kern's not fucking calling me. So I don't even pick up. I'm like, that's obviously an accidental call. He calls again 10 minutes later. I'm like, why the hell is Brett Kern? So I answer the phone, and I'm like, yeah, what's going on, Brett? Like, he tells me that he's like, I was just sitting in a meeting room with the whole team and watched Mike Vrabel chew out Anthony Ferkser and Khalif Raymond for doing Tape with a Titan. And he put it up on the screen in front of the whole team and said, why are we doing this? You know what I mean? Like, why are we sharing? He's like, Brett Kern sitting there the whole time watching, like, I don't know if they put out my episode yet, but I know I did one
He's
too.
like, cut it, so don't put it out.
Like, hey, can you please cut that shit? Don't put it out, because I probably said a little bit too much. It's got to be one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me. Brett was shaking in his boots watching Vrabel chew those guys out.
He definitely had we don't get to go on those. That'd be a pretty interesting thing. But, Compton, Lawan talked about Bust with the Boys and see some of that. But he definitely had a certain style in the team meetings. But, yeah, that's the balance that it's tough, because, you got to do what you do, and it also brings an element to the fans. And I'm assuming that was probably from a competitive advantage with going through scheme. I have no idea.
Yes. Yep.
That's just how it's going to be interesting to see how the next couple decade goes with coaching staffs and whatnot as younger guys come up, even with players. Media requests and media days, as we call it, photo shoots and video shoots, and social requests for players. I've even seen over the last decade it just becomes more normal for the rookies as they come in. And why wouldn't we do media? Why wouldn't we do this? Whereas some of the old vets that were kind of on the way out when I was starting in there, the 2010s were like, wait, I'm not doing that. That's not something I do. So it'd be interesting to see how some of that shifts over time. But yeah, that could be, hopefully you didn't run that and give Kern a heart attack.
We didn't.
I never ran it.
Yeah, we didn't run it.
Look at that.
Graver
Respect
and
for the
I,
guys. Yeah, attaboy.
Graver and I have gotten a lot better, I think, at knowing what's cool and what's not cool, for example.
True.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it sometimes it can be fun. Like, Melo's had more. That wasn't the only interaction you've had with Titans PR about trying to get player interviews done, and and putting things out that nobody in the organization necessarily wants us to be doing here, it kind of makes it harder to do
You know what?
job.
You know what though? I will say, Graver. Like to be honest with you, I take accountability because like I was a young journalist learning too. You know what I mean? Like I had all these connections through players and stuff, and I just thought, oh, if players want to do it, it's fine. You know, I kind of had to learn the other side of it. And like today, like as of now, we published like 4 or 5 interviews with Titans players this season. All of them went through PR department and were approved by the PR department because they got a bunch of great people there, and they realized, okay, this guy was being heartfelt and he's learned, and now he's doing things the way that we appreciate. So credit to those guys too, because they kind of understood where I was coming from and knew that I was in the wrong, and I accepted that. And we put out some great content with Tito Awuzie this year, Jarvis Brownlee, like all kinds of stuff, and all of that went through Titans.
I'm excited for Brownlee, but yeah, I mean, some of that. There's times throughout history where you got to establish yourself, be a little disruptor, and then find your way. So yeah, I think that's good. But no, I think it's cool, and it's been. I mean, yeah. So you and I met years ago with Matt Neely of all people. That
Yeah.
hopefully name doesn't ever go away, but it's becoming quite a ways away now. But it's been fun to see. I don't know. When I first started the Titans, we had culture in certain pockets, but I really wanted to see social and digital kind of evolve, and it's been cool to see somebody in Toronto, someone in LA, someone in Mexico City. Everybody's got different nuances again, but whether it's a fan club of Mexico City or it's content from YouTube across the board, seeing all these folks connect over the brand, I think it's helpful. And then, the dream is to meet up at the Super Bowl in, LA or something, and they were all hanging out. You're doing your content stuff. He's backstage with his producer role, and we're all having fun. So, people ask me what my goal was for career things internally, and I was like throwing the best like epic Super Bowl party where all you guys are included. So I don't know. It's been cool to see everybody evolve over time.
No doubt. And sort of on the same subject, but also changing it a little bit, as content creators, we know, like when the team is doing great, the content flows easy, the views, the interactions, the engagement flows easy because everyone's excited and happy about the team. On the flip side, when we're going through what we're going through right now, 3-14 season, there is obviously excitement around the number 1 pick. There will probably be excitement around the new general manager hire and what that means for the direction of the team. But this season was a tough season for content creators to get through. Justin and I churning out episodes every week like, oh, we got to talk about another loss. I'm curious from the social media side, from the team side, connecting with influencers to engage with the team, like how much more challenging is it when the team is just not playing well to get fan interaction, to get celebrity and influencer interaction? Like how much more work do you have to do essentially? And what kinds of guardrails do you have up? Like, are you more careful with certain posts when the team loses, like the Lions game 50-20 or whatever that game was? Like, do you have to be more careful with how you post and like mute some comments that are just like fire whoever, sell the team, like all that stuff? Like how much different does the job get when the team just sucks?
Yeah, man. I'll shout out to you guys for powering through that too on your end. You're maybe not as bound to do it as some of us are, but I've been very lucky. I was bracing myself for this, and hopefully it doesn't happen. Trying to put those guardrails in for future seasons too, but I was very lucky on the game day front. And some of those relationships, celebrity wise, that I didn't have as many problems I thought I might have with how poor the season went. Maybe we'll chalk that up to just really good relationship building for the prior couple years. Our game day vibes, it's still a fun party, even if the game isn't going so great. So hopefully we did that. Our game day staff has done a good job. I mean, it didn't end up working out the way we wanted to, but we even had a potential collaboration with Netflix where we're going to do Squid Games on the field at halftime of his last game. So we're trying to come up with unique ways to still have fun. We ended up doing a really cool opportunity anyway, but I was talking to you guys before we even started going live. There's a Canadian influencer who does a lot of great health and food content. We flew him in and did a bunch of stuff. So trying to find unique ways to be creative and still provide compelling content that has our brand in it that may not be as football focused. Social wise, yeah, I think that kind of goes back to even your original question, like what's the message the team's sending out? What is football? What is leadership? Are they in line with what our messaging is going out? Sometimes it's just better to just probably be a little bit quieter, I suppose. My philosophy is always to be as transparent as possible. it's just whack-a-mole with comments, especially when things are really going poorly. But yeah, I think, and we have some new staff too. They're learning through that. But yeah, from the influencer role, we were very fortunate this year that we had a lot of cool things already planned and we're ready to roll with. Our in-game director even we're going to be in an American Idol episode in March, and he basically, interesting story where they just wanted a contestant to sing at the game, and he was basically like, hopefully it doesn't matter me telling this, but behind the curtain, he was like, I'm only doing it if we get all the judges and Ryan Seacrest. And they're like, all right, sounds good. So we had this whole production crew come in, and we had, I think it was into first quarter to second quarter, perhaps. We had like 3 minutes to bring out the whole crew, have her sing, give this golden ticket to Los Angeles. But that was in a game that I think we didn't win. So anyway, that's a good thing in March. Hopefully that audience in American Idol, they don't remember if we won or lost. They don't care if we won or lost. So it's just trying to find unique ways to capitalize on being an NFL team, being in Nashville, and trying to provide entertainment, honestly. But again, yeah, it's 100%. You're right. If we're those days when we were winning, I would have a list of 50 people that were trying to get in our suite, and I can only have 25. And I got to start making strategic decisions about who to say no to and how to do that or how to fit them in a different suite. So yeah, I think we all want to win. That's what the whole goal is basically coming down to. But yeah, you have to get a little bit creative and strategic when you lose on your end and ours.
Yeah, you have to be better at your job, essentially.
Yeah, fair. I do think that is accurate. I think clubs, especially social creators, and I've know most of them across the league, I have tremendous, maybe even more respect for the clubs that aren't as successful in the field but still find ways to do cool things because I don't know, just I'm not going to point out any teams, not I'm thinking in my head, but just generally speaking, when you're winning, everything goes well. And so those teams that, I mean, I think the Panthers were just up there and incredible forever, and then they've just, not had the greatest couple of seasons, and it's tough to go through those years and try to find ways to get creative and get fans engaged without just getting dumped on. So it's fun to see that crew have a little bit more success and a little more optimism with Bryce Young playing well and ending the season on a high note and having some more fun with their creative. So, yeah, I think the groups that can do it when things aren't so well on the field are some of my favorite and the ones I look up to the most. Hell, I think before we go, I think the Broncos, I'm really close to their staff. I think she's been there. Y'all can just fact check me. They haven't been to the playoffs in a long time. And she's been there forever. And this is her first playoff season. And I couldn't be happier for her. So it's cool to see.
Nice. No doubt about it. When the job's harder, that's when you really got to come through, right? And so, Nate, thank you so much, man. This has been awesome. Before we let you go, it's funny you mentioned that night with Neely, man. I was gonna tell that story on here. Like, it's crazy to me. That was the 2019 season. That was 2019. We went to the AFC Championship game, but that was the home opener, right? And I'll never forget him for that. And we try to keep his name alive because it's like, so to tell the story, like I came into the city for that game, the home opener, retiring Steve McNair and Eddie George's jersey. So that was the last time I came in. COVID hit after that and all that. But anyway, that was the night also that we went out, me, you, and him Saturday night. That was the night before the first ever Bussin' with the Boys tailgate. Yeah. The first ever one. And he had a big role to play in that, And it just told me so much about him that he still, found the time to come out with you and I that night. And I'll never forget, like, he gets to the restaurant and he was like, I forgot my wallet at home. It's a 45-minute drive. And I'm like, you don't need your wallet. Like, I'll cover you. Like, it's all good. He's like, oh, but I really want my driver's license. Blah, blah. Man drove back 45 minutes, went home, and came back again to the restaurant. We had an incredible night, you, me, and him, and like just hearing everything, all the plans he had for Bussin'. It was such in its infancy. He said to me that night, and I swear to God, he was like, the goal is to get with Barstool eventually. You know what I mean? Like, and the guy was just such a visionary, and it was. I think it was 2 weeks later he passed. Like, I'll never forget getting that text message. I was out in an event. I wasn't working full-time in football yet. I was working a regular job, and I was at an event, and I got a text, and it just sunk me. I couldn't believe it. It sounds crazy. Like, we know life is short, but it could happen. But I just couldn't rectify in my mind that you, me, and him were out 2 weeks earlier, and now I'm getting a text that he had passed. And just I think about that night a lot, because of how it changed the way I think I view life in general, to be honest with you. And so thankful that the three of us got to share that experience before his very untimely passing, because the guy was just brilliant.
Yeah, no, people know how I feel about him. He's the man, but Yeah, I appreciate what you guys do, and I think what he was doing and what they are ultimately doing, like it just helps build up this ecosystem around the club, which I think is just so fun, and that's what makes winning awesome is when you've got all these other outlets. And yeah, sometimes there's friction across the board with them. Like I remember, like the footprint of the tailgate, they were right on the outside of it, or the our parking lot, they were right outside of it. But I don't know. Even what they do is awesome. Former players, and they're in the market too. So, no, thank you guys for keeping this podcast going, even in the tough times. And I think that's what makes this whole thing special. And then when it gets turned around, like I said, if you haven't been back since 2019, Graver, have you ever been here? Have you been to Nashville to a game?
Nashville.
Yeah.
I went once for the draft. I actually met Matt that weekend.
Yeah.
My Twitter profile picture is
That's
still
right.
to this day. Me and Matt. Yeah. That's the only time I've been to Nashville, though.
Once we get this thing turned around, we'll come back and we'll host you guys. It'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Graver, we got to go together, so we'll make that happen.
Yeah, we gotta go.
I've been more times than Graver's been, which is hilarious to me as a Canadian. But we
The
got to get
pod
there
will be
together.
like so big by then. You'll just have like a satellite set up, and it'll be fun.
Yeah,
We'll just
and we can do
include you in
maybe.
the new stadium. There'll be a carve out for you guys there.
We'll finally be able to pod in person. We got to hit the pharmacy, Justin. We got to hit Sinker's Beverages while we're there. But Nate, one last thing that I got to say. You mentioned it earlier. You really launched my career in sports media. Like I was a photographer's executive assistant for 6 years in LA. Moved here to like break into the movie scene, but always did my sports hobby stuff on the side. And that opportunity at NFL Media popped up as a podcast producer, and you were the guy that sent my resume to NFL Media, got me that first interview, got me my foot in the door, and like here I am 5 years later, still doing this and loving it. And I just have to say thank you so much for what you've done for me. And I don't know, like I owe my career to you, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No,
So
man,
thanks.
you're putting out. I just remember that's the handle you put every time we would play, and like our video staff was we had a small video staff. They had to do in-game videos, they hype videos. I mean, these guys it was like three guys just churning through videos left and right, and it was cool for them to work on something. And maybe while they're editing, Titans film room pops up with a hype video, and it's like, oh, all right, and it just kept building this excitement, especially in the 19 season. So your work spoke for itself, but it was so cool to then not only did you get a job, but you became like integral to. I mean, how long was that group together? It was like forever. I mean, it was international, and then to just hear and listen to them and like the Grave Digger and all this other stuff. So it's been very, very cool to see. And again, you took care of your career, but I'll toot my own horn in the sense that now we had a Titans presence on those podcasts that really kind of didn't always get covered or got dismissed. And like you were the Titans guy. And like that's what I like to see more, just infusing our brand in different places. And even with, I mean, I saw the Oiler banter and this kind of stuff this last week. And like, I don't know. I know you're taking a lot of heat right now. We appreciate it, but that was cool to me too. And worth all of it is you're crushing your job. You're getting some notoriety. You're building great relationships, and you're part of the family for them now. Obviously, so they started a new group and they brought you with them, but you're our Titans guy basically in there now. So I appreciate that.
I love being that guy for the fan base, for the team, and for podcasters in general, because it's true. The Titans do not get enough attention. Nate, this has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you. If you're on Twitter, you should know who Nate. If you're a Titans fan and you're on Twitter and you don't know Nate Bain, hopefully you do now, but you should have known already. Follow him at Nate Bain on Twitter, and hopefully we can catch up again sometime soon, maybe in Nashville.
Yeah, let's make this a recurring thing, man. Let's do it.
All right, thanks again to Nate for joining us, for telling those stories, for having some good time with us. I really enjoyed Nate's convo there, and we will be back soon, Justin, to dive back into the situation at hand here, what we think of these quarterbacks, and we're going to really start getting into our breakdowns and dive deep in on the draft here because the playoffs are happening obviously right now, but the combine's not far away, and free agency is not far behind that. Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, the draft is, it feels like it's months away right now because it is, but it's going to be here before we know it. So we're really going to dive into all that stuff soon. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, like button, and drop a comment. What do you like about Nate Bain? What do you think about the Titans social media? And just comment anything, algorithm stuff, or ask us questions that are unrelated to this episode. We don't care. We just want comments. So we appreciate all of you for bringing the heat in the comment section. We'll be back soon to talk more. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
Broadway sports media production.